Hello, in today's vlog I want to talk to you about Swiss Army knives and why they're key to live broadcasts. But to do that I have to talk about the unsung heroes that often appear behind the camera, the people that work tirelessly to make a live broadcast happen. And I'm going to use the example of Project Cirrus. For those of you who aren't familiar with Project Cirrus, it was an attempt by Fujitsu to send one of their employees and to set 4 world records in wingsuit flight. He was aiming to become the fastest person to fly in a wingsuit by setting a new speed record. He wanted to fly the longest distance flown in a wingsuit. He wanted to go to the highest altitude of flight in a wingsuit, and he wanted to spend the most amount of time ever by a wingsuit pilot in flight. So we now know he's managed to set 3 records, 1 world record and a European record and a British record. He has actually set the fastest speed and flown by a wingsuit pilot. We had confirmation this morning from Guinness that the world record has been taken. It's just being ratified as we speak. But last week FAI confirmed that Fraser Corsan set a continental record for the highest altitude of flight and a British record for the highest altitude of flight. So all in all, a really successful 2 weeks. You can go and catch all of the footage on #ProjectCirrus, where you'll see all the videos that I'm about to talk to you in context of. Some years ago, I had the fortune of seeing Alex Ayling, who's the head of BBC World Studios, speak, and he was talking about the need to be a Swiss Army knife. In production, teams have shrank, resources are fewer than what they were, say, 10 years ago. So you had to learn every aspect of production, from writing, presenting, filming, lighting, audio, editing, how to cut, how to lay over, voiceover. You had to understand every aspect of production to be able to package and distribute world-class content. And the team on Project Cirrus embodied everything that Alex spoke eloquently about a couple of years ago. And I want to talk to you about the team, because Project Cirrus, when you look at the production quality, the videos, the fact that we're on location in California and Ontario, most people think there are endless resources to tell the story of Project Cirrus. Well, there weren't. There was actually only 5 people in the production team. There was a producer, Roger Price, Lee Satterby, who was our cameraman, audio person and lighting, Stuart Tannehill, who was our editor, responsible for cutting all of our video and making sure it edited together in the stories that we'd storyboarded. We had Jarno Cordia, who was our aerial cameraman. He had the job of going up with Fraser, the wingsuit pilot, completing a wingsuit flight himself, but with the added complexity of having a Blackmagic camera mounted to his helmet. And then was myself, who took on the role of media director and presenter for everything we did on Project Cirrus. And I like to think we embodied everything Alex spoke about. And I think this was best evidence in the challenges we had to overcome. Like any production team, we looked at all the stories that we wanted to gather. We storyboarded everything that we wanted to tell you. We thought about the interviewees and the credible expertise that we needed to hear from to bring you the insight of wingsuit flight, and also the challenges of going to altitude and setting new records. And we did all of that planning brilliantly. But what we didn't do planning around was everything that could go wrong. And that's what I want to talk to you about, because to do a live broadcast, you have to think about your story, you have to think about your image quality, you have to think about your lighting and audio. That's an absolute given. But to truly do live, you also have to think about everything that could go wrong. So I'm going to take you back 2 weeks ago. We arrived in San Francisco. We are in the departures hall. We are literally about to go through to the car garage to collect our car hire. And Lee, our cameraman, said, "I'm a little concerned about our point of view cameras. I've been looking at the temperatures and altitude. If Fraser's going to 37,000 feet and 42,000 feet respectively on his 2 jumps, that's -50. And in factoring in plane speed, that applies an additional -50 wind chill, meaning it's going to be minus 100. I don't think the batteries on the GoPros are going to last more than 20 minutes. So we went into the lift and we immediately got into a brainstorm, hypothesizing about what needed to be done. And one of the solutions we came up with was heat packs that you put in your gloves. We were debating if we strapped heat packs to the batteries and then gaffer taped them and bound them, could we compact enough heat around the battery that we could get 1 hour's life out of the battery? As we now know, this MacGyver-like workaround was incredibly successful. In fact, we didn't just get 1 hour out of it, we got 2 hours of filming. It virtually maintained the off-the-shelf battery length from GoPro, which was staggering. The second issue we were faced with, again climate related, was in California. It should have been 72 degrees. And I say it should have been because we'd looked at 20-year weather patterns and averages. We chose California because the jump site had expertise in high altitude, low opening jumps, but there was consistent weather, except it wasn't consistent when we arrived. It was 20 degrees above seasonal average. We were working in 101 degree heat. So the fear then became, how do we protect the cameras? Because just like the batteries and the cameras don't particularly like cold, they also don't favour heat. And on one of the days where we were filming in about 103 degree heat for the better part of 2 hours, the camera was at full pelt with its fan going. It was screeching, making a noise that you just never want to be hearing from sort of £10,000 camera equipment. Again, brainstorm, how can we deflect heat? How can we cool down the cameras? And we turned to iPad Pro for the solution here, the big covers. Fortunately, the producer Roger had an iPad Pro, so we removed it from the case he had and we created a tented V that sat over the camera to reflect some of the heat away, and remarkably cooled the camera enough so that the fan was a little happier with things and we could finish the shoot. Then we had to face our biggest challenge. On jump day, Monday the 22nd of May, Fraser should have been aiming to set at least 2 new world records. We now know he set one with the speed, but at the time he had all sorts of things working against him. Aborted takeoffs, delayed takeoffs, altitude temperatures, meaning the plane couldn't get to the altitudes we wanted to because of the rarefied air. Everything was going against him, including a poor flight and a rough landing. And his location of landing meant that it was a longer time to actually gather some of the footage, so we couldn't go out with a true live broadcast. We had to quickly edit the story, film links, and create a story on the fly that lived up to the storyboard. And this is where the true talent of people that know their craft comes in. Lee, our cameraman, quickly knew the shots that we needed to gather. Stuart was re-editing our story. The producer was looking to make sure that the expertise interviews we'd previously gathered still stood up in context of our live. Yours truly, well, I was reshooting all the links I thought I'd wrapped on. And over a 2-hour window, we repackaged a 20-minute long video that charted Fraser's flight and showed, as we now know, him setting a new speed world record. But in those live scenarios, to do live broadcasts, you have to have expertise, you have to have good equipment, but you've got to have a positive mind. You've got to have a solutions-led mind. You've got to be able to look at a problem and think, how am I going to get around this? You can't be intimidated by problems. You can't get flustered by things that aren't going to plan. You've almost got to get inspired by that. And you've got to rely on the resources you've got around you to come up with a workaround solution. If you embrace it, if you actually enjoy facing the unexpected, it becomes a fun challenge to meet. And then if you've got the confidence to back your ingenuity, more often than not, you'll find you've just come up with a truly innovative workaround solution that the rest of industry will probably adapt. In fact, speaking to Discovery, the production team who were documenting Fraser Corson's world record attempts, they thought the heat pack solution was truly genius, and some cold weather filming they've got coming up within the Antarctic, they're going to be applying the very same solution. Have fun overcoming challenges. Don't get flustered by them. Embrace the live moment and go and tell a really cool and compelling story. That's the true art of live broadcast.